Okay, so it looks like the broadcast is live. Hello, everybody, to yet another Hyper Games conference today in 2023, a panel discussion. Thank you all for participating. So today we're going to be talking about game marketing in 2023, advertising and monetization. We're going to be talking about game marketing, and especially the paying attention to the relevance of the advertising and monetization. So even though that 2023 just started, just barely a month passed, but maybe we can share some insights regarding what is happening right now, and also by the analysts of the past year, and see how this is going to evolve. So, okay, without further ado, let's, ladies and gentlemen, let's introduce ourselves. So first, let's start with Uroju, right? I'm so sorry to mispronounce your name. Could you self-introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Urooj, and I'm a growth and partnerships manager at Playdew. So basically, I have been marketing games for over 4 years now. Different kinds of like all PC games, mobile games, and some mid-core casual titles. So I hope I will try to bring something new to the conversation.
Awesome, great. Let's introduce right now Chloe K, VP of Publisher Growth at Adverty. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, of course. So I basically work with top studios in the world. We bring brand ads into their games in a seamless way. So I'm really, really looking forward to having a great discussions with everyone here today.
Great. And let's introduce Ömer Yakabağı, Senior BD at AddApptr. Could you introduce yourself a bit?
Yeah, right. So I have been working on the mobile gaming industry for a while, so more than 3 years right now. So we are working with around 4,000 publishers currently in our mediation. So we have a product and monetizing the apps. So yeah, happy to share more insights in upcoming discussion and uh, giving the ball to you again. Yeah.
All right, awesome. And finally, the last one, Customer Success Manager and Tenjin, is Ganbayar, or you can see it's here,
Yes, you
Kana.
can call me Kana. Yeah, that's easier.
All
So
right.
much easier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hi, I'm Kana.
Could
I'm
you introduce
customer
yourself? Yeah.
manager at Tenjin. So I've been working with helping studios becoming a self-publishing studio for almost like 4 years. So usually it starts out with like one or two people, and then it grows to like more than 50 people, and sometimes even 100. So yeah, I've been training them and teaching everything about like self-publishing from a marketing analytics point of view.
Oh, that's very interesting. That's very similar to what I'm doing as well too. So let me introduce myself too. I'm Krystian Strauss. You can call me Chris as well, head of overseas business development at OpenMediation. So yes, our main product is an open source code mediation platform. But mostly I'm involved in our X-Timing Accelerator program, which is a free accelerator program for mobile game developers, helping them optimize the game and publish their games worldwide. So very similar to what I guess Kana is doing. So very exciting to see more and more people doing like that. So okay, let's start our discussion right now. So as usually, I prepared a couple of questions for our participants. I'll be asking every question per participant, but if you have anything to add, feel free to jump in and have a live discussion. All right, so let's start with the basic question of how is marketing in 2023 different than 2022? Let's start with Kana.
Yes. So just to start out, I think marketing in 2023 is going to be similar, but a little bit harder than 2022 because we're all looking at smaller margins for, especially for hyper casual games, and then we just saw the functioning like release callback of Scan 4.0. So which is forcing more developers that they have to adapt to the system now. So like it's going to be challenging but exciting.
Yes, you're right. Lower margin, and you can see that everybody is also paying attention more to UA, right? Pushing more campaigns, and you can see the spend is also higher, right? So yes, I guess this is quite obvious that we can see a bigger competition in this area. Chloe, do you see any specific things that will happen in 2023 regarding marketing?
Yeah, it's been a very interesting year actually, because everything happened in 2022, and we were like looking at a potential recession last quarter. And I just came back from Pocket Gamer London as well, and then there are just different discussions around this. So I've heard from developers saying fail rates are decreasing, eCPMs is decreasing. It's really difficult to monetize their users, and then it's also very difficult to do UA as well, because it's getting more expensive, and it's like chicken and egg. So if you don't make enough money from your players, how do you have enough money to to work on your UA strategy? So a lot of the developers that I'm speaking to right now are like Chris and Kana just said, they are looking at their UA strategy in a more strategic way. On the monetization side, they are looking for new revenue streams right now as well. So they are more open, because compared to previous years, before they didn't really need to worry about advertising revenue, but now they're looking at different things, either new formats or doing more things on their IAP or a different model like subscription. So that's basically what I see.
Yeah, that's true. We can see that more and more developers are paying attention to AAPs and how to implement it to actually get the better revenue. That's right. So what is the key advertising or UA techniques that we can see in 2023 or we can implement in 2023? Urooj?
I agree with both of them that it is expected that the budgets will rise, or like the CPIs will rise in 2023. And what I expect is that the advertisers will be diversifying their advertising channels. They will be looking for more places where they can advertise their games, because in the recent years we had pandemic, everyone was at home, and we got quite a growth in the especially in the mobile gaming market. But now, like, we are out of that stage. The pandemic is officially over, so people are back to work. They don't have those hours, and we will see a bit of the the market going to a stable growth rate. Like, it will still grow, but like, the growth rate will decline. So obviously, we need to diversify that, where we are looking for new channels and where we can find the amount of the players, because obviously the market has slowed down a bit. So we will have to look into that also.
All right. Ömer, any insights from your side regarding the new techniques for UA
of course.
advertising?
Of course. Actually, I think Chloe also made it clear on alternative parts in the first question, but I think the organic growth will also gain importance in this year. So especially when we see higher CPMs and more competition, especially on hyper casual, this year will be a peak on the organic growth side, especially of course, they will be searching for new channels. But as I see in 2022, the publishers were more into like, all of you know very well, like, let's find a trend, go for the CPI test quickly, and push the campaigns, make, maybe burn some 100K, 1 million, and have a nice money. But right now it's not directly like that. So also you need to take care of organic app store optimization, side.
That's very interesting because I want to actually ask that question regarding the organic downloads. Can still developers focus on organic downloads in 2023? Is it possible, or is it just like a myth that's just somebody is saying, but it's hard to make? Ömer, what do you think?
Yeah, actually, most publishers, also service providers, focus on tier one countries, which mean US, UK, Germany, France, etc. But of course, you're 100% right. In these countries, you can't go mostly or fully organic. It's just impossible. But if you go to Asian markets, especially our friends also know very well, in India, for example, in Pakistan, even in Vietnam, the organic growth is huge. So you can just check the biggest publishers, and I know most of them as a close friend, especially the monetization and marketing friends. They even don't do user acquisition or very small budgets with 1 million download monthly. So it's crazy. You cannot imagine it in Western side, but it is what it is, and they still, most of them are not aware of the power of user acquisition. So it's a truth that not many people are aware actually.
So that those developers that you mentioned regarding focusing on organic users, are they mainly what they're mainly doing? Just ASO optimization or some other specific things?
Yeah, actually, they also make small campaigns, especially for better performance, but mostly App Store optimization. That's right. And of course, there is also a very basic tactic from their side. So before having some organic downloads through ASO, they don't push for any campaign. So that's also tricky. So as far as I'm aware with this situation, actually, when you make the campaigns after you have some organic downloads, it's getting much better performance for your campaigns.
Okay. Chloe, what do you think? Is organic downloads possible in 2023? Like focusing on organic downloads?
Um, I suppose that goes back to the basics, right? So content is always key. So if you need to focus on making a good game first, and even though the competition is high, you if you have the right content, then you have a better chance. So I would say yes and no. And I know there's a different like free ways you can do, but then if you don't really have UA budget, your resources are probably relatively tight. So does that mean you have time to use those free sources? Yeah, but free like good content, I would say, good gaming ideas is key. But it's really hard for me to say this. And then potentially, I know Chris is in one of your questions, like uh, having your monetization planned, even roughly when you start making your game, and then you can utilize your monetization strategy, and then you will have some money, and then you can actually use that on UA.
Okay, makes sense. Kana, I have a question for you. So if we're gonna be focusing organic downloads, right, or maybe not fully focusing on organic downloads, but still very paying attention to a good balance of UA and organic downloads, like, do you think it's social media presence is important, or like social media marketing is important, especially for like small or medium developers?
Yeah, it's an upcoming trend, but I think it was mostly driven by the Web3 revolution, as to say, right? Because this is more driven by communities rather than just people like responding to user acquisition campaigns. So I saw some like connections also that you can make your Facebook friends aware that you're playing this game, and then maybe play together. But this is like a little bit more on the casual side, so it's not very hyper casual thing to do. Yeah, so community involvement, it's not very like relevant to hyper casuals. But what is picking up right now is cross promotion. So for bigger publishers, like if you make your logo and your game like recognizable, right? And the customer, like the user trusts that you have good games, then you can cross promote within the app. Like there's all kinds of questions about how to legally do that, like in um, because of the recent scandal, I guess. But yeah, like because of this, also there's going to be less and less publishers who know how to do this properly. And if you figure it out, then the arena is all yours.
But then to focus on cross promotion, you need to have a specific amount of players and games, right? What is
Yeah.
the threshold for that? Like, what do you think you suggest, or you think it's kind of doable to do the cross promotion? Because we
I,
actually also involve, I mean, we also doing cross promotion, we see that working, but the problem is like when to start it. When do you think?
so like I've seen it working for even games with two games, right? So you acquire users, you pay money for one of the games, and then you put your own ad um, to route the user to another game, which is working pretty fine. Yeah. So basically, it's better for publishers that have lots of games, but there's no reason why you cannot do it for two games.
Okay, interesting. And going back a little bit to community building, what is the importance of community building for marketing purposes? Roger?
Community obviously plays a big role, but it obviously depends on what kind of game you're creating for. Obviously, the mid-core, or like if you go towards like the PC gaming, obviously it plays a big role. But with hyper casual, I haven't really seen actually a proper community building campaign, or somewhere where the hyper casual players can actually connect with each other. Like we haven't seen anyone doing that. And also, like with the nature of these kinds of game, it's kind of hard to build a community around those. So it's definitely a difficult thing. But I mean, if someone wants to try, they can definitely go for it. It will be interesting to watch how it plays out. But but generally, like we also discussed, that organic downloads and all those things. It's possible, but ultimately it comes down to your product. What you're actually making. If you are following on the trends and you make something that is liked by the public, and you get that hype from the market trend also, then you will get some kind of organic growth. But otherwise, it's kind of hard to be in such a competitive market without any paid advertising.
I totally agree with you. I mean, for community building, you need to have a topic or a theme that this community is going around. When the topic is as vast as hyper casual, it's going to be very hard to build a community. But if you have a specific thing, like we see a good performance when we're doing like casual, mid-core-ish, like it doesn't have to
Yes.
be super hardcore or super mid-core. It's like casual, like a word game, bingo game. Like you can see the community is playing a big role in it, right? Having like a decent amount of that community growing, and helping in organic downloads, of course, and also getting
I
a
mean, we
feedback.
can,
And
if we really want to, like, take an example. I think everyone heard of this game called Wordle. It was really popular. Like it's a small. We can consider it more like a hyper casual game, and it was very very popular. And people actually did make some communities regarding that. They involved their friends, and there were groups where they would solve the word puzzles every day. So. I think it's possible even with a hyper casual game. The thing is that how you execute your strategy. If your product is that well built and you can involve your users in that it's possible. But generally, we haven't seen any those kind of games in the market till now, that where the consumers are so engaged and they want to play it with their friends or something. Maybe if multiplayer features are involved in that, but like it kind of goes away from the genre.
I
Yeah, I think
understand.
like Chris mentioned, it's probably more for like mid-core, or you need to have a topic to your content. For example, we've got this publisher called Do Dreams. So they've got this card battle title, and because you can collect different cards and then you can compete with other players. So they are all really loyal to the game, and then they're all in this Discord channel to share their scores, and then to share, hey, there's a new car, I've got a new car, I'm the first one to get new car. So they share their collections. And the other one is there's a title called The Wanderer. So it's a strategy game, and you basically are alone in the game, and you have to go out and then collect different things to survive. And they have this character, a dog, to go with the player. And the dog can easily die in the first levels. Actually, mine died, and I was a little bit emotional. Like my dog died in my game, and I told my publisher, I said my dog died, and then he told me, yeah, everyone complains about the same thing in Discord. Like, oh, my dog died. His name was this and that. So that actually creates like topics and conversations. And for developers, they actually step in and make another version of the title. So they actually collect all the feedback, and then they're gonna basically design the second version based on the feedback, and that's just really useful. So for the impact, you probably don't see it, straight away, like organic installs, etc. But that helps them build a better game next, and then they hope to see the impact in the next version.
Yes, I totally agree. I think this is more the feedback, very important for the developers, not for marketing needs, but more for like a product development, right? This thing, it could also bring some traffic, but I think this is more valuable for the game and know how to change it, how to exactly upgrade your KPI and so on. So how big is it that those developers? Do you think like small or medium teams can also focus on that community building, or more like social media presence? What do you think, Chloe?
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Do Dreams is like known, and they're big. So yeah, so you probably think, oh, you need to have a big company to run a community. But for the other one, the Wanderer title, they are just they have different teams in the company, but just for that title, there's only 3 people working on the title.
No.
So you don't need a big team, and you don't need a fancy Discord channel. I know a lot of Discord channels have so many different side channels, and then you need to maintain every single day
It's
to
very
just
hard to know what's what, where.
yeah, I know, like too many information. But you don't need to. You can only have like 5, and then you can have different key channels that you run. If you are a really small team, like, you can start from there and then see what happens.
That's very good insight. Thank you, Chloe. Let's go to another question. Let's go talking about the UA campaigns. Do you think it's good to push some UA campaigns right now in Q1, or rather wait for another period? Ömer, what do you think?
That's a really crucial question, actually, for most publishers. But what I think, it's also not exactly about the month or season, because of course the ECPMs will vary and the demand budget will be changing from month to month. But still, when you catch up with the trend, maybe you found a great idea and you have a nice CPI, just go for it. So overall, actually, the answer would be totally up to your product. So also, in another question, Chloe said that it's of course important, but the product is more important. So actually, the question also similar here. So if they have the nice game, nice app product, they can just push for it. So maybe you have got the trend. Shall you wait for summer? Of course not. So that's the first perspective. And second perspective, according to the data side, we all are aware of which month ECPMs are getting higher, lower, etc. So that's why in especially January is a challenging month. So right after Christmas and New Year period, where the ECPMs got peak in the year. So especially January, February are not the best for the campaign part. So I would say summer will be definitely much better for a higher ECPM side. But again, like it doesn't mean just stop the campaigns, etc. Like it's not the case. So
But then on summer CPI will higher, right, as well.
yeah,
So
that's true.
it's a better engagement. You're right. Like like you shouldn't be just waiting for like half a year to actually run your UA testing campaign. Don't do it. Like you can still run, and then on the summer decide to either scale up or invest more, or change the strategy. But I think for testing purposes, unfortunately, every time is good. I mean, to know what's up. Like don't stop developing, or just don't wait half a year, because that the times will change dramatically, and then you won't be able to market your game, or the ability of market your game is worse. So I guess this
Right.
is a good insight. We have one question from the audience. Let's check this. What does the future look like for in-game monetization? Maybe ask Kana about this question.
Yes, so there was a lot of speculation about how it's going to look like, especially with the new Google restrictions, right? And the industry was raving about, okay, happy casual is dead, it doesn't work anymore. Yeah, so at Tenjin, like we did like a case study with the with monetization partners to see the effect of this new rule. So the before and after comparison. So actually, we surprisingly we found that it doesn't have so much effect, because hyper casual studios, at least like the ones who were successful, they already had shifted away from interstitial campaigns, interstitial ads, right? And they were more focusing on banner ads and then rewarded ads. So like this is still continuing, and honestly we didn't see like any studios being banned from Google Play because they had like an interstitial, what you say, like intrusive ads. So yeah, like I think it hasn't been like properly enforced yet. And
Yeah.
so like the developers who know what they're doing, they've just been carrying on doing what they do, like with rewarded ads. And with what Chloe said too, like we don't want to disrupt the product, right? Like the gameplay itself, otherwise it affects the retention rate. So yeah, monetization is going to be more like rewarded ads and banner ads.
Right. I see the same thing. There's no buns or problems with interstitial ads so far, but I can see a lot of people and our developers are adjusting to it and testing different options. Like, what if this? Can I make the money? Is it work? Is it another possible way to do so? Right. Adding AAPs, more rewarded ads, and adding the content so it will fit actually more rewarded ads, and kind of going around it. So I think
Yeah,
this
we,
is.
we see quite a lot, just to add a few points here. We see quite a lot since Google announced the new rule last year, because we are sitting in a non-intrusive monetization solution space, been in the market since 2016. And those are recent rules kind of like help us in a way for developers to be more open to testing. We are working with many hyper casual studios. One of them is Monday Off. So they have great games, like really, really, really addictive games. They run different tests. So all kinds of new formats that you've heard in the market right now, they either have tested or they're testing them. They tested our solution in Play Solution in one of their titles called Like a Pizza. So it's a smaller title, and you don't want to test a new format in your biggest title. And then they basically just have these billboards in their restaurant scenes, and then it kind of like just looks natural in the background. And ads can rotate every 20 seconds. So imagine a session runs over a minute. That's 3 potential impressions there. So they saw, and then they got like zero impact on player retention. And then now they're having in play in every single new title they roll out, because they are getting, I can only say the figure that we are having in the case study, which is 6% revenue uplift in like a pizza. But we're definitely seeing like variety of performers in other titles as well. Yeah, so I would say, yeah, back to the first question, what's 2023 like? It's going to be a little bit difficult, but it's also going to be a good year to test like different things on both UA and monetization sides.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, talking about this question, what is different kind of ways of, well, what are the new ways of monetizing, or any new ad formats that will stick in 2023, or something to try in 2023? Roger, what do you think?
Uh, yes, like I see that the non-intrusive ads will kind of get popular because now we have these Google policies, and people have to move away from the interstitial ads to avoid getting all those kind of penalties. Also, like rewarded ads have been in trend, and they are kind of a good way to engage your players and also like not interrupt the gameplay while they're enjoying the game. I also seen some games doing audio ads. So they're also a way that you don't have to show anything visually; it just plays in the background and doesn't interrupt the player while they're playing the game. So that's, as I said in like the when we're talking about trends, that there will be new channels available for advertising as well as like the in-game monetization. So people would be looking for new ways how they can monetize their games, and obviously I think there are going to be new offers also, like new partners coming in who will be offering different solutions. And also recently we have seen like there's a rise in the use of AI. So we might see some AI solutions for ads also in the possible future.
What do you mean by AI in ad solutions? Can you give us some example?
Uh, it's kind of difficult to give an example right now, but like usually we are using certain ad networks for or like people use mediation. So I think generally like in the future there could be some AI use where you don't have to rely on these certain networks, and you can choose it internally, being done by the developers themselves.
Mhm. Very interesting. Yeah, the AI implementation is still possible, and we can see it. That's true. Um,
I
oh,
have some examples actually, like
yeah.
about the AI, especially like with image generation, automatic image generation. So I believe that this is going to revolutionize how developers like do tests, and especially on the creative side, because there's a lot of AI programs that generate images like automatically. So this is like really good for coming up with new, totally fresh designs for creatives, right? And then you can change it a little bit and fully automate your creative testing process, and then you can put like A/B tests in there. Yeah, so
Did
it's
you already try doing something like that?
not myself, like because we're
Hmm.
marketing analytics, but
Sure.
I've been hearing about developers. They have been raving about it because they just need like some ideas, right? So it's an idea generation, and then I think it's going to help the industry like overall, because we're like burned out, right? Creative
Sure.
burnout
Um,
on the
I
rise.
would say that it's not only the creatives, but people have been using these AI softwares even to write the ad copies and their like page descriptions and stuff. I know some developers who have been actually using that, and like the famous chat GPT thing
Yeah.
that's going on
Yes,
right
I
now.
want to mention it
So,
actually.
so yeah, like everyone has like in some way people are getting on the AI trend. And for creatives, I think it's still a bit of a time that we can get into like actually professional AI art. Like we see images, but for creatives, we need a certain type of style, and think it's still a bit way to go there. But for copywriting, definitely AI has been providing some good content, and people are using that.
Yeah, that's a very smart way, especially for a small and medium teams, right? The lacking of some power. They need some new, ideas. I think that's gonna be a great use of it. Okay, going back to the topic of advertising and monetization. So Ömer, what do you think is the relevance between the monetization and marketing?
That's a really cool question, Christian. So I would say, especially people should be aware of its direct correlation. So it's always going hand in hand, similar logic and line. So, we actually in the first discussion discussed about the which months publishers should go for campaigns, etc. So it's exactly what it is connected to. So, for example, let's imagine holiday season like Christmas and New Year period. So, the campaigns will be pushed more for specifically for that period. Of course, it will increase the revenues on the monetization side. So very basically, maybe you will get 20 or 30% more in terms of monthly revenue. But when we go back to the user acquisition side, the costs will also be rising where you make the campaigns because more advertisers, more budget, so there will be more competition in terms of the user acquisition side. That's why it's a very basic example, but actually it's always describing very clearly whichever part you want to discuss, the monetization and user acquisition side. So for me, very subjectively, when I entered to the market, I was only aware of monetization. When people were saying user acquisition, oh, like what it is. I was just knowing small Instagram campaigns, for small businesses. But then I just explored Facebook, Google, TikTok, Metagram, etc. So how to burn a big amount of cash, etc. So then I just understood that actually you just make investments through user acquisition for what you will get, which is called as LTV prediction. That's very basic logic in the end, but hard to comprehend actually.
All right, very good insights. Chloe, what do you think about this topic? What is the relevance of monetization and marketing? How you are looking at this thing?
Do you mean like in relation to the UA side or
Yes.
It's very hand in hand. I think it's chicken and egg. There's actually one interesting topic that I had with different developers at this PGC actually. In the previous years, I saw a lot of developers had separate teams, like one UA team and one monetization team. They probably didn't really speak to each other, but nowadays they are, and more and more developers, they are actually having those two teams as one team because it does impact each other, and it will be easier to work more efficiently if you are on the one team because you're seeing the other side strategy, tests, results, etc. And it's chicken and egg. If you have more monetization money, and then you can put more towards UA, and vice versa. And also things like cross promotion as well. We covered earlier. Either you can, like Hannah said, you can run your own ads of different titles in this title, in like rewarded videos, or like in play as well. So for example, we have when there's no fill in our billboards, it's transparent, but you can have a backfill image of your own other title. So you kind of like promoting your other titles in your own games, and that costs you zero. And that's just something you can only work out if two teams are working closely together. So yeah, that's basically a trend I'm seeing. I think bigger developers are combining two teams right now, and then basically seeing two strategies as one.
True that. I mean, I agree. Like the product development should go intact with the UA and the monetization, and all these three parts should be, unbreakable, working together, how to optimize each other and kind of work towards a common goal. So, Urooj, another question. When do you suggest to add monetization during the testing of the game?
I would say probably at the very start, when you have the prototype, because you also have to test your monetization strategy along with the gameplay. So if it's not fitting and you need to change something, you can change it in proper time rather than when you are off into the market and like the damage is already done. So it's better to test it before when you're going to, even before, I would say even before a soft launch. Soft launch is not that risky, but still you should have some kind of test surrounding what your monetization is looking like and what's benefiting your gameplay.
True that, because during the test you can analyze the monetization as well, because a lot of developers are thinking, okay, let's do the game, let's just see it how people like it, right? But then you add monetization and it's totally changing it, because of course you losing some players. So actually thinking about that, like the monetization might influence your attention, right? If you're doing the let's say a UA test or something like that, what you should pay attention to when you adding monetization during testing? Kana, can you give us some insights? What do you
Yeah,
think
so
about it?
there's a lot that you can do with monetization. You can control the frequency, right? And you always have to find the soft spot where, your revenue is not dropping, and your retention rate is not dropping. Yeah, and also like in relation with the previous question, there was a trend like a couple of years back amongst bigger publishers, which is like live ops, right? But this trend is coming back now because it's now more available to smaller studios, and the tools, can help support it for even like indie studios. So what happens is that you don't have to just stick with like one LTV per country. You can do live ops where a user coming from TikTok is having a totally different monetization experience than someone who is organic, and in the frequency of ads, and offers for IAPs. So this is like how you can make sure that you're getting monetized effectively. And yeah, even with like organic users, uh, like because you didn't pay for them, maybe you would like bombard them more with ads, right? That this also works.
That's true. I see a lot of publishers are, pushing different UA campaigns. One is broader for all the audience, and you, of course, you slam with loads of ads. But there's also for the ones that are more IAP optimized, kind of more like value optimized, and then you can see that the strategy they're taking is a little bit different. And then comparing these two strategies and just running it simultaneously, right? Like that. Ömer, okay, let's do another way question regarding the UA. So, what is the platforms that you're using or recommending to push the UA? Maybe for soft launch is one different. Maybe for a proper launch is different. What is your strategy there? What is something that you can recommend?
That's actually a very tricky question and actually a very, very common one, I would say. But in reality, actually, I don't think anyone is only stuck up to ideal network, because especially if we go from the product side, as always, because we are trying to monetize our product. First of all, you should be focusing on the geo. That's the first main topic that most publishers may forget. So it's actually not about the ad network; it's about your product. So are you targeting, for example, APAC or LATAM or Europe, MENA, etc. So then the ad networks also change. So while some are performing very well in APAC region, they're almost zero in Europe. So, but it doesn't mean that they are just bad. So just like for example, Pangle or also Mintegral, etc. So they're pretty good in Epic, and they're not as good as they're in Europe side. But there are some global networks, just like, as everyone knows, Google, Facebook. You can always trust on their traffic anywhere. But of course, the CPI may be so pricey, let's say. So you should be always A/B testing. My suggestion would be that. So check it out by yourself. If we go in depth, your game genre is also another factor. So my suggestion, briefly, is first of all, focus on your target. Just decide that first of all, which geo you want to focus on, which genre, how are the ECPM benchmarks, etc., then try the ad networks, which can be possibly the best performing. Then you can push some networks and campaigns more, while you are also benefiting from them with maybe low budgets. But of course, last but not least, try to get benefit from all of them if possible. So it's not like, okay, like this one is better, so I will never use the others again. So it's not like that. Just get benefit from each of them.
So generally, kind of seeing how that network is performing in your specific area and see if could be the platform for UA, right? For
Of
starting
course.
UA. That's a very, very good insight. Very, very interesting. Roju, what do you think? If you're doing like a soft launch or starting UA testing, what is the platform you start with regarding the UA, or which one you would recommend?
Um, it kind of depends on specifically on your game genre, because like not all kind of games will be performing equally on the same platform. So like some genres are, they get better CPIs on Facebook. Some are doing better on Google, or like TikTok or some of these platforms. So there's always a difference in that, and also region wise. The platforms will also change. I totally agree with Umar, because so we can never, I would say that we can predict that, or say one ultimate platform that yes, it is good for everyone. So depending on your game and your launch time and a lot of different factors playing into the account, it will be different for different times. But if I do have to give a general answer, I think the most commonly used ultimately are Facebook and Google at the end. But you will you will still have to choose your platform carefully depending on what you have made.
True that. I can see like Google for more broad audience, Facebook for more targeted audience, right? I recently actually see more TikTok working out, which is not as expensive as, let's say, Facebook, and have maybe closer to Google, but it's better performing than Google sometimes. So it really depends what is your, of course, the game genre, and if you can choose a topic around it and attract these TikTok users. But I can see that actually TikTok is working pretty well, and kind of I would suggest to consider it, of course, because it's no straight answer for it, right? Which one to start with? Okay. So yeah, with right now seeing the data that the ad spend is hitting new highs, right? How can developers adjust to this information? Kana, do you have some ideas?
Yes. So actually, we just like 2 days ago, we just released our eight hyper casual benchmark report. So this is a report where we analyze all of the CPIs in every countries and um, um, top like 10 advertising channels, right? So like what kind of CPI is expected in each geo, and then like which ad networks are performing the best. So and in relation to ad spend, Q4, of course, it's going to be like the all-time high for iOS and Android, right? And there was also like a peculiar result where ad spend has shifted back to iOS in Q4, which was not the case like in Q3. So that means like a lot more developers are choosing to adapt to the iOS 14 plus changes, and because iOS generally performs better in terms of like retention and LTVs, they're like uh, putting their ad spend towards that too. So
Yeah, you
yeah,
continue.
but
Sorry.
the thing is like for Q4, even though it was the highest in all times in terms of ad spend, if you look at like how the data is flowing, there was actually a very peculiar trend where after the 15th of the December, ECPM and ad spend was actually decreasing, and I think it's still like decreasing now. It's picked up a little bit. So okay, like everybody knows it's January, right? But this is like a very peculiar case. So is this because of the recession like coming pretty soon, or and when is it going to recover, right? So I would say that with the recession news of recession looming over, maybe right now is the best time to advertise before everybody gives up.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And I also saw the data regarding, shifting back to iOS, which is very interesting. I thought, I mean, especially for hyper casual or more casual titles, I thought the Google will have the upper hand, but actually, yes, it's shifting back. So something to pay attention to, I guess, about that. Mm, okay, regarding the UA and regions where to start, is there any specific regions that we should start with and consider? Umer, I think you're mentioning it before different regions, so
Yeah,
I
of
think you have.
course. Still, I could generalize that actually. So it was very overall answer for the previous one according to the product, but here I can directly go for US, which is basically the market leader. So it's where the marketing starts and ends. Actually, also the decision maker somehow. So if the US side is collapsing, the others will continue in the same way. That's where the money is. So that's why I'm pretty clear with US over there.
Chloe, what do you think? Any specific
Uh,
regions to start with?
I've heard different strategies actually. I've heard like the Philippines, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, United States. From what we see, from the data, what we can see here on the monetization side, if you have more users in the United States, you generally make more money, even 50, 60% higher than say users in APAC. So a lot of the developers will come to us and then say, we've got millions of users in India or in Vietnam, and do you have demand there? Because we really want to monetize the users there. And we say, well, can't really, depend on the users there because our demand is more like brand advertisers. And, and from what we can see, even you only have 5,000 players in the States, you can still generate good money compared to, say, 20, 30, 100,000 in APAC, which is quite cool. Yeah, so that's why we're seeing some of our top developers are actually focusing their UA strategy in the States, even though it's like probably the most expensive option.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. I personally see some that we tried publishing, and we published games like in different regions, like in Brazil, Indonesia, which is actually merging Mexico, and we saw better even performance than United States. It's really depending regarding the audience preferences and how they're interested in specific topics, and of course your strategies, localizing, of course, for the UA needs. And actually, we saw some things that it was published that actually Brazil was successful and United States not so much. So we're just focusing more on that regions and finding more things. Of course, generally speaking, US is the market to pay attention to, and of course, T1 countries like UK, Canada. I can see there's more and more actually being doing there regarding the UA.
Mhm.
So yeah, I
So
think it's something.
for
Yes, kind of.
in terms of countries, yeah, I totally agree with you. Brazil has been, experiencing like one of the highest ad spends ever, and it's actually
Yeah,
like number two in Android right now. So
yeah,
what
especially
you're trying
in.
to do is that you're trying to advertise in the most competitive market, right? To see if you can recover like in monetization wise, and then also try to advertise in a cheap country to do the same. So for iOS, China is probably one of the cheaper options that you can monetize effectively. And if you want like an alternative to US, right, it will be like Canada, Japan, and Korea. So like this is all from our like analytics report.
Mm-hmm. Very good. I mean, yeah, we've seen the strategies pushing in some tier 3 countries and tier 1 country at the same time to see how is the relevance between them, and if yes, you can perform well in the United States and Brazil, and then adjust accordingly. I think this is a very good strategy. Oh, we got a question from the audience. Is engagement and conversion is different on every advertising channel? What do you think, Roger?
Uh, it is actually because on different advertising channels we are all also using different kind of creatives. Because like if you are supposedly on Instagram, you will be mostly, because it's a image platform, so mostly use image based ads there. And if you go towards TikTok or some platform like video based platform, you will be using video ads. So your creative is different, so obviously it's going to have a different conversion rate and engagement based on that. uh, I would say yes. Like it's going to be different. But generally, I would say that you should look that it's not like very vastly different. Like if you are using the same message over all the channels, then like there should be a difference of like small numbers. Not then it's good enough. Like if you are experience very large changes, then there's something going wrong. You should probably check it.
Mm-hmm. I can see some differences if we were pushing like on Google and Facebook campaigns, but this is I think mostly relevant to like target audience. Like Facebook is going to be more targeted, so that's why the engagement and conversion is going to be different than more kind of, let's say, broad approach in Google. Then we can see actually two different data, but of course it's not only just the platform but also how we push the campaigns, and therefore using that platform, and there we can see that engagement and conversions are different, and one platform works better than the other, right? Umer, what do you think regarding
Yeah,
that?
that's definitely right. And actually, it's also up to the campaign. So if you are totally doing the same, uh, of course, it will be 100% different because, as you also mentioned about, for example, TikTok, it's cheaper, and we already know the TikTok app, and it's about the app itself for the campaign. So, for example, if there is a trend over there, so it will directly change everything, starting from CPI to the engagement conversion. So if it's in the trend, yes, so much, so great. If not, it's zero. So like also when you get the user from there, maybe they will not even complete the rewarded, so they will just close. So or Facebook is much more expensive, maybe 10 times, sometimes 20 times, but the user will be let's say more open for in-app purchases, also for engagement and conversion. So that's also up to the strategy that you make on the campaign itself.
Also, one more thing, like if you do see these huge changes among your conversion, like just Umar said, that there might be a trend and it might be a good thing. So, like, do always look for the cause, because it's just like if you see like a huge number and you just go and stop the campaign or something has happened, it might, there actually might be nothing happening, nothing wrong could be happening. So, like, do check why the things are happening.
That's right. We see a lot of things that what is happening. Sometimes it's good things, sometimes it's bad things. So, and if you don't know what is happening in these things, like trend wise, like you wouldn't know, like, oh, did this influence me, or some holiday that I wasn't aware of, or some
Yeah.
other things, right? Oh, there's one more question. We're still going to the end, but we can ask this question. What do you suggest a startup on how to launch its first game? Challenges to consider and budget to keep in mind as well. Kana?
Yes, so that's exactly what I do every day. A lot of the studios who are wishing to self-publish, they think it's impossible unless you have a really big budget, but that's not true. I have helped lots of studios bootstrap, right? So what you really need is a very accurate tool and marketing analytics system, because like if you're making 10 cents and then you have like 1 million user, then you have 10 million uh, um, dollars, right? But you're actually if you're losing 5 cents, then that could totally bankrupt you. So yeah, please invest like in a really reliable tool, And also, like, there's another strategy where you're publishing with a publisher and soft launching like another game as a self-published studio at the same time, so that you don't experience this like lack of funds problem, and I think it's picking up.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yes. I mean, I see some developers that have pretty advanced game, and whenever it comes to the changes of UA testing, they run off the funds, and you need to be aware of it. And I'll definitely, when running first budget campaigns, is doing at least two different directions, either like the UA strategy or the geos, that that you're not just blindly guessing in one place, but at least you're paying attention to two places or two variants that that might give you some better data, that okay, maybe this target audience is better, or this region is better, or using this ad creatives or using different platforms could work. So I wouldn't be discouraged just to push one thing and then see it fail, but maybe doing two on budget campaigns that could work for you. I think the time is over, to be honest.
Yes, Chris, just
yeah,
one sentence was very important for
sure,
developers.
sure.
Like, I always, talk about monetization, user acquisition, but just very small suggestion to all friends: focus on your own power. So just don't go for any strategy that is trending. So if you have experience, for example, 3 years experience in any genre like puzzle, social casino, etc., if the runner is on rise, just don't push for that. So you have the muscle over there. So get benefit from that. So that's a common mistake currently. I think, yeah, everyone should be careful about their own experience. So that's the biggest advantage and strategy of your own side.
You're right. Totally agree. Don't chase the trends. Just focus how maybe that trends could be used in the area of expertise that you have right now, right? Or the experience you have. Okay, thank you very much for sharing all the knowledge and insights regarding today's topic. Thank you all for coming and live discussion. We'll be finishing here. We're available on Pine, right? And we have some contact information there. So if anybody has more questions, they're welcome to to find us on the Pine and then other platforms. So again, thank you all for coming. Have a great weekend and goodbye.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
guys. Bye.